What's going on, everybody? We are back here in some more MX vs. ATV Legends. In today's video, we're actually going to be talking about um, pretty much Deegan's debut for Pro Motocross on 450. So, I was watching the race yesterday, um, and there's there's a lot of talk and around each each rider. So, Jit is coming back from that foot injury or that thing that he had. I was told that it's actually a ride altering injury that he's going to have to deal with. Um, Given that he doesn't have full range of motion in his foot anymore. It was the same thing as Tomac's Achilles tore when he tore his Achilles, and he doesn't have that full range of motion, or he had to alter his writing, which I do believe that it did something to his whole morale for writing and everything. But the biggest thing is Deegan. He debuted on 450 this weekend, and there was a lot of talk around this, um, around uh, Deegan, uh, the Jet and Deegan rivalry, and all of that sort of stuff. But there is a couple of things that I do need to address. There is a lot of people out there as of right now, throwing a lot of shade at Deegan right now for not stepping up to what he was saying, or his ability to possibly win, or his ability to possibly beat Jet or something like that. But I'm actually here to say that it's not going to be about Jet and Deegan. Um, Hunter looks very dominant. I don't think. Well, Um, Jet had a hard time this weekend on the track. Not only because he's not fully 100% because of that foot, but also he didn't catch up to Prado like I thought he was going to. As soon as I know that um, when I see Jet, charging like he does, he usually gets up in the first pretty quickly, like very quickly. Um, Prado Prado's one of those dudes who definitely has something to prove, and I think Prado is going to be a problem for Jet. Not only because it's not only Prado can't win or Prado can't beat Hunter. Prado is not a bad writer. Prado is a very good writer. He is doing better than he was last year. If you guys know, you know. Um, but the whole thing with Jet as of right now is he's just coming back from injury. He hasn't raced all year, and he had a couple of bad starts this race weekend. He started actually right next to the Deegan and everything. Um, and just kind of, Deegan kind of, he kept up with him. Not, where it goes to where he can catch up to Jet pretty quickly, but his Deegan's ability to, when he was able to run from 10th, well, actually from like 24th or some shit, all the way up to like 8th, and then, 10th to like 5th or some shit, is actually pretty impressive for someone who just debuted on a 450. And with Deegan going 8.5, his first race is not that bad at all. But I feel like that there's a couple of things Deegan does need to um, work on moving forward. Um, so something that he does have to take in consideration that the 450 is not a 250. I read on a couple of other medias on YouTube talking about this, that Hayden is riding that 450 like a 250, and it made him look a little squirrely, and that is kind of true because there's a lot of corners on the well, particularly the inside corners that Deegan um how well he was sliding out of those ruts, and he was hard on the throttle. Like given that his aggressive riding style, he was a little too aggressive. It's not bad by any means, but it's gonna get to the point to where um the having a lot of throttle control and using too much throttle control going out of corners like he was doing is just gonna make him slide out of those corners, exactly the very thing that I see him doing. He's got to be a lot smoother on that throttle. I'm pretty sure Deegan is going to learn pretty fast that you have to be a little bit more smoother to be faster on the 450. I'm sure that he's going to figure it out pretty quick. Um, and his starts were a little I wouldn't say bad, but they were that time. Well, his starting was kind of like one of those types that he gets in the way, or well, he uses the starts and then he gets bad timing, wrong place, wrong time type of thing. That's what I was trying to say. The wrong place, wrong time type of thing. He got caught up behind a few riders, um, and so he's got to figure that out. But James Stewart on the broadcast, said it best. Like Hayden understands the level of competition he's facing. I don't think he's gonna sit there and be, I don't think Deegan's gonna sit there and be ignorant and say, "Oh, I can beat these dudes," because I'm sure Deegan does understand that the level of competition in this class is a lot greater than he probably than he expected. I'd say. Um, I wouldn't fully write off, the Jet Deacon rivalry just yet, because I do feel like that Hayden is going to get into that type of mindset to where if he's not winning, he's going to get mad. Um, and then Jet is has to start figuring out, his whole ability to ride, at least with that injured foot. I'm not expecting Jet to, come out and be like 100%. Of course not. But I'm also expecting for a round, um, for Jet to hurt that foot again. It's not because I don't like the dude. It's not because I want to see the dude crash or something like that. But with the extent of his injury on his foot, I'm not expecting him to, keep babying it and hopefully it heals or gets better, when he's racing or riding or something like that. I'm expecting him to do something to it that's ultimately gonna, push him out of the series. Um, Again, that's like no hate towards Jet. That's not no hate towards his riding style or his dominance or anything like that. But you got to look at on the ground surface, the ground level that you know Jet might hurt that foot again. It could it's only going to be a matter of time because he's already it's barely healed. Um, he's already said that he's been back on the bike for a couple of months. But if that's at the point to where it's like healed enough for him to ride, but he's still babying that foot. Yeah. I'm not gonna fully ride off that Jet's not gonna hurt that foot again. So that's another thing that I'm keeping an eye on. Like, um, and it's only a matter of time before that happens again. And as for Dean, he's of course he's the 450 rookie. So he's still learning. He it's gonna take him a few rounds to learn that bike and learn how it operates and how it works. And I think some people were right about um, talking about how Deegan is going to try to ride that 450 like a 250, very aggressive. Deegan can ride that bike really aggressive, but he has to kind of alter the way he does ride. Not only because it's too much power or anything like that. It's for the sake of smoothness of the bike. So um, yeah, I know that Deacon's gonna figure it out at some point. It's gonna take a few rounds, like I was saying, and hopefully he will. Um, hopefully he'll figure it out, and hopefully he will start um, getting those faster lap times. For him running a 219 the way he did in qualifying, that was not bad at all. Like I'm actually for him, being a rookie on 450, his first ever like 450, actual race. He it was actually quite impressive the way that he was able to actually throw down a 219 and then go a 5.8 or 8.5, which is not bad at all. Um, I was expecting him to, at least be in the top 20 instead of the top 10. But I will be foolish to say that Deegan's not good enough to be in the top 10. Um, but I also do feel like that he needs to figure some stuff out. Coming into the next round. He's got the speed, he's got the aggressiveness, but he just has to refine it. And I wouldn't completely write off Dagan for not being for not being a threat towards at least Jet or Hunter. But we are going to be talking about Hunter now. Or and Prado. Um, so Hunter is one of those dudes who have lived in his brother's shadow for a while. I have always told people that I do actually think Hunter is a better rider than Jet. I do think that Hunter is faster than Jet, but I do feel like that Hunter was in this mental place that ultimately led him to, being like Chase when Chase was trying to chase down Jet when he came in. Chase was the only dude on Jet's pro debut for 450. Chase was the only dude that could have the ability to beat Jet, and he couldn't. Jet ultimately, kept that 1 to 2 second gap between him and Chase, and that's how good Jet actually is. And so Hunter, well, with Hunter pulling almost a 10-second lead the way he was, that that is like complete dominant style, or that is dominance for Hunter. Um, with Jet, I don't think it's going to be interesting to see where this leads up with Hunter and Jet, because I did hear that it's going, this season is going to be, Hunter and Jet battling for first. But I do feel like that you can't you can't completely write off Prado as of right now, because he does have something to prove. Prado does very much have something to prove on that new bike, and I'm not going to write him off as not being able to win. Um, could he be a title threat? Maybe. It's too soon to tell with Prado, but he's good enough to be a title contender, but I don't think he has the merit enough to actually be a threat for the title. But I know Prado definitely does have the ability to be a title threat, but I don't think he's going to be. At least not this year. Um, with Hunter, Hunter is one of those dudes who just has that drive. He has that complete drive. Jet hasn't been racing all season, and so that really, does something different on the morale of some of these dudes. Except for Chase. Chase is, Chase is a lost fucking cause right now. Chase just keeps crashing. Chase just keeps. I don't know what's going on with Chase at the moment. He can ride that bike definitely, but I think it's all in his mental game right now. I was watching on some of the other media outlets and all of that sort of stuff that everybody was like annoyed and pissed off that everybody was talking about the rivalry between Deegan and Jet, which is understandable. Um, but with Chase, he can't. Chase is one of those dudes who are just like he's kind of a lost cause. Um, I've asked somebody. Well, I was talking to somebody recently, and I was saying, Tomac and Prado are have the ability to win. They do better on the KTM and everything, and people didn't like that I said some of that shit about Chase, um, but I also asked them like what's their ability? What's the ability between both Tomac and Prado? They have the ability to stay on the fucking bike. Um, but and as for Tomac, that crash was rough. That was really rough to watch. But I'm not gonna. There's a weird fucking paradox thing that people are going through. That people are saying that Tomac needs to retire. Tomac doesn't have what it takes anymore. That crash was not Tomac's fault. That Garrett Marchbanks, he fucking drilled right into Tomac coming out of that corner. Um, and it, yeah, it fucking Tomac flew off his bike, and that's kind of fucked up to say that sometimes people are saying that Tomac needs to retire or all of that sort of shit. Well, that wasn't Tomac's fault. With Tomac having that agitated hip, I guess it's a hip injury that he's been dealing with. He hurt it once, agitated it once, and then he got drilled again. This story also reminds me of Stewart's retirement or his disappearance from all those times ago. Um, when when James Stewart came back from that year of suspension and Ryan Dungey fucking drilled right into him, uh, freaking T-dogged him or T-boned him, and he retired and then he disappeared for like almost 6 years, and then um, he started popping around again. So and now we got Bubba's World and um, him in the booth. So it's good to see. It's good to have him back, and it's good to have Ryan Villapoto doing that podcast with Ricky Carmichael, Title 24, I guess it's called. Um, I have to I have to look at where that's at and kind of take a look at it, all that sort of stuff. But um, yeah, for the season, I Deegan still has a lot of learning to do. Deegan does need to make adjustments on his riding style. I'm not saying like completely, change the way he rides or something like that, but he definitely has to be smoother with his throttle control, especially coming out of some of these inside corners. It was the inside corners that was happening. He would come out of the corners and then he would try to hop out of the ruts and then he would be sliding. That that rear tire would be sliding through the fucking rut, and, you know, and he wasn't hooking up coming out of those corners when you saw a lot of the top runners being a lot more smoother. So um, I think Deegan does need to figure that out, and I'm not expecting Jet to not hurt that foot again. It's only a matter of time when he does. I'm not just gonna say, oh, he's 100%, he's 80%. The foot feels good. no. I'm expecting Jet to hurt that foot again, and I don't know when. Um, but yeah, I'm not gonna fully write off of Jet not being able to keep that foot, well, keep babying that foot the way he has, and all of that sort of stuff. So only time will tell. But this rivalry it is definitely not over. People are quick to judge. Some people. It's only the first round. It's all definitely only the first round. So people are just are just on that bandwagon of hate. You know, but Hayden's his fastest lap time was a 2:19. He finished an 8.5 on his first 450 Pro debut race. And I do very think that that is very impressive, especially from his first moto when he went from like 24th like up to 8th. Like that was impressive. Um, and Jet, it's him babying that foot, but um, Jet is still faster than Deegan. Um, and that foot injury is not going to change anything about that. That Jet's fast, um, and Deegan he's fast too, but he just has to work out the kinks and refine his riding style a little bit, especially for this 450. But I think he's going to figure it out. This rivalry or this Deegan train is definitely not over. I'm not going to fully write the kid off as of yet. If it comes down to like maybe 5, 6 rounds where he's just like consistently getting top 10, top 5 finishes, then yeah, I'm gonna kind of write him off of not being at least a podium contender. I don't think he's gonna be a title contender this year, but I do very think that he's going to fight for at least a few podiums this year. Um, I could be completely wrong, and he can come out and start fucking. He can start dominating every race, but um, I do feel like that Deegan's he's not. Yeah, I wouldn't write him off of uh, being at least a podium contender, at least for this year. So yeah, I think that's about it for this video. Definitely let me know what you guys think down in the comments. And let's kind of talk about what's gonna happen next weekend and what's the possible outcomes for this, and let's just let's keep this going and see where this goes. So yeah, I think that's about it for this video. If you guys like this sort of content, go ahead and give it a like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. See ya.